Happy Saturday morning, Sean.
Yeah, well,
I think it's still
early.
dark out where I am. You got me up so early in the morning.
Come on, it should be light out there at what, 7 o'clock?
Oh yeah, it's light outside, but it's dark in my mind after yesterday. We're off to such a great start.
Yeah, I know. Rockies were one pitch away from winning, and then the Reds won, but they only won by 1 run, and your Canadians did not fare well at all.
No, they did not fare at all. Well, I had, it's just one of those days where you pick the wrong thing. Of course, I picked the Yankees and the Mets. I picked the Yankees. They got rained out, and then I had that in my account. I also bet to Tampa Bay. I bet on Montreal. I'm watching that game on my couch, and 1 minute in, it's 1-0. 3 minutes in, it's 2-0. I'm like, well, that's fun. You're out of this game before it even starts, and then Montreal scores a goal right before the end of the first period. I think, okay, they're back in this game. And then boom, right after the second period, same, almost like a carbon copy of the first period. Tampa Bay gets out, boom, boom, 2 more goals in the first 3 minutes. It's 4-1. And you're like, this is a wrap. There's no chance that Montreal is going to come back. And Tampa was just much faster. It seemed like anytime there was a puck, if you kind of watch the puck, there was one red jersey and 3 white jerseys. So Tampa was just clearly the better squad, making me rethink my 50-50. I'm going to play them both times, no matter what happens. Strategy.
That was my next question. Were you going to stick with your guns there, or after seeing that, it's over and get the brooms out?
Yeah, I think, well, you're going to get an inspired performance from Montreal. No professional sports team or any athlete of any sort. Heck, if my son and I are playing a game and I'm down 2-0 in a best of 5 in foosball, I'll lift the table, I'll kick them under the table. I'll do whatever it takes to get that win. But so I can't imagine that the Canadians are going to go away that easily, but they just look like the much superior team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping for a sweep. I'll get some money back on betting on that.
Yeah, I don't see them going past 5 games. Even if Montreal does win the next one, they'll get whack-a-mole down in Tampa. It's almost the hockey heresy that a team from Tampa, from Florida, is beating a team from Canada in hockey. I mean, that's definitely hockey blasphemy, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it tells you how upside down the world is.
Yes, well, that's what COVID has done. Teams from Florida are winning Stanley Cups, and teams from Canada can't even barely get into the Stanley Cup finals. But that's the way it is. I kind of feel like Tampa Bay. I mean, like the Canadians myself this morning after the start we're off to. But we'll pick it back up. We're going to be like the Canadians, back against the wall, Game 4, and we're going to come out fighting today. We're going to get cracking with the NBA. That's the it's the Game 6 in Atlanta between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks. Of course, if it's in Atlanta, that's who is going to be involved. And we have right now, it looks like Atlanta, the line is moved from Atlanta being from the game being a pick to Atlanta being a 2.5 point favorite.
Yeah, so that must mean that a lot of people are thinking Trae Young's going to play for that kind of movement. I don't know if I trust this either way. You could go with whatever theory you want to do, that Milwaukee just looked so much better last time, they're going to close it out tonight, or Atlanta's coming home and they're going to be a different team. I think if I had to go one way, I would go Atlanta at home.
Yeah, well, if I had to go one way, I'd go Atlanta at home too, especially if Trae Young plays. Right now, according to the way I do things, my simulations, I have Atlanta winning the game 107-106. You can't really bet that, but with Milwaukee covering about 57% of the time. So I would probably tilt a little bit towards Milwaukee. The total in this game, I think, is 216.5. And I have the game coming in at 213, 107-106, like I mentioned, which would, to me, lean the under.
Yeah, and Atlanta at home, their defense is going to be tough. Milwaukee's not going to score the points like they did last game. I could see the under here.
You could see the under there. Yeah, that would be the. I would like to see that line go up a little bit because you know how people like to bet the home team and the over. So if that line can move to maybe 217, maybe 217.5, I would be maybe inclined to take the under. But where everything is right now, I'm not getting enough value on either side of the line to consider taking Milwaukee or Atlanta. Same for you?
Yeah, I'm not touching it.
Not
Although I will
touching
say
it at
about
all.
I will say about the under as well. In the playoffs, I made some money by you leave those first quarter go or whatever, and they'll score some points. But when the third and fourth quarter comes, especially in the elimination games, those defense tighten up, and there's not as many points scored. So you can get an under live. That might be okay.
Well, one thing you might want to consider, I've noticed these kind of games too, is maybe the first quarter. I would expect Atlanta to come out firing, and because they're, again, their proverbial back is against the wall, to use the cliches, but right now it looks like they're about minus 130, minus 125. So I think Atlanta's probably the team that's going to come out ready to play. They're the ones whose seasons are on the line. Maybe minus 130 is a decent play. I notice too, a lot of times in these games, team that wins the first half loses the second half, but it doesn't necessarily mean team's going to win. But a lot of times you see that kind of reverse. So maybe I would consider Atlanta first quarter and then maybe the under for the game, but I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's then move on to baseball. We have, let's see, full game. We'll start with the game that got rained out yesterday, the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, the battle of the Big Apple. That line's moved because yesterday when I wanted to do it, it was a much different line than it is today. It looks like the Yankees are about minus 185. It looks like the consensus line with the Mets plus 160. I liked the Yankees yesterday when they were plus or minus one, I think 50 something or another, but I do not like them at minus 185.
Yeah, this is one I couldn't touch it yesterday, so the same kind of scenario. I'm not touching this game.
Is it going to be? Is it doubleheader, right?
Or no? I do not see a doubleheader listed.
No, it's okay. So because I know a lot of times when they get rained out, they have 2 games the next day. Maybe they're making that game up another
especially day. That it's an early day game. You would have thought they would have did day-night doubleheader or something, but they did not.
Or maybe they just don't have the numbers or the matchups for the second game. I don't know. I particularly hate those 7-run games because if a pitcher's strong, you're kind of done, like Tampa Bay scoring early. I hate them.
Yeah, I heard last night on TV too, a guy suggested about, and it was on the MLB network, about with these 7-inning games, why not on part of the doubleheader, the starting pitcher comes in for the last inning of a game 1, and then starts game 2. Which is interesting, but the way pitchers are, they'll never do that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That guy's just throwing that out there to hear something.
Yeah, you can't take the 20-minute break. A lot of times they have hard times coming back from a little bit of a rain delay. So
yeah, I don't think that you should do that. Tampa Bay versus Toronto. This is a game where Tampa Bay yesterday got beat. Toronto actually has the best home offense in terms of OPS. So I think Toronto is a team to be dealt with at home. They're a minus 122 favorite. Any play for you here?
No, I kind of leaned towards Tampa yesterday, and they got completely rocked. This is one I don't trust either team. And you said about Toronto's home offense, but I think their record's like 18-19. I think they have a losing record at home, so it's kind of odd.
Mixed bag.
I don't trust either one.
Yeah, if I were going to go anywhere on this side, I would definitely lean towards Toronto with that home offense. Seems to me Tampa's struggling a little bit lately, so but I'm not on that game at all. And then next up is San Diego, Yu Darvish versus Zach Eflin, minus 154-ish, 160-ish, somewhere in there for the Padres versus the Phillies, catching a plus line at home of 100 and about, I'd say 140-ish.
This is on the outside of my official plays. It's not going to be official, but it's one that was in there. I would take San Diego here. Money line's not too bad. What'd you say, minus 154?
154-ish, yeah.
Yeah, and the Phillies, again, yesterday they were up, and they blew the lead again. I think it's like 8 out of their last 9 they've blown. Mm-hmm. So, and San Diego's starting to roll. They did lose yesterday. With you, Darvish, though, got the better starting pitcher and stuff. I would take San Diego here.
Yeah, Philadelphia is pretty solid at home, though. I think if I was going to lean anywhere, if I was forced to take action in this game, I would take Philadelphia at plus 138, 138, 40, 34, 41, somewhere in there. They have a little bit better power ranking at home. They a little bit better on the run differential at home versus San Diego on the road. And they win about 60% of their games at home, whereas San Diego, I think, is a little bit under 500 on the road. So I would definitely consider taking Philadelphia in this spot. Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. Sound like you had something to say there.
Well, with the Phillies, the problem is that Zach Eflin hasn't been that great in either. And if he doesn't give them a lot of innings, they're going right into that bullpen. And San Diego's offense is starting to roll. So I couldn't trust that. If you want the Phillies, you better hope Eflin, gives them 6 strong innings.
Well, that's the hope there, right? I mean, I'm not betting the Phillies. I'm just saying from a math standpoint, from a probability standpoint, you're getting plus 140 on a team that probably has a 50% chance to win the game. And you're getting a 40-cent premium. Whereas with San Diego, you're paying a pretty hefty discount. You're getting a discount on Philadelphia. You're paying a hefty premium to bet San Diego. And the way the lines match up, though, Vegas is trying to bait you into betting Philadelphia. So maybe the play really is San Diego. The next game is one that there's really not a lot of lines on yet, but you got Milwaukee versus Pittsburgh. Looks like Milwaukee's going to be somewhere about a minus 162, 163, minus 160 at Bet Online, minus 165 at Bovada right now. Pittsburgh is 148. I like this game on the money line as well as the run line.
Yeah, this is one of my plays. I'm taking Milwaukee minus a run and a half. Milwaukee's won 10 in a row. In those 10 games, they've outscored their opponent 72-26. And then Pittsburgh's lost 6-7, being outscored 35-13. So I think Milwaukee rolls again here.
I think Milwaukee rolls again here. There isn't a money line here, but you had mentioned earlier in the day it's minus 104. To me, if a team is plus 160, if a team is minus 165, I don't think that's going to be a negative money line. I actually think that's going to be a positive money line. I rarely do you see a team minus 165. Usually it's about minus 200 where the money line goes to, the run line goes to a negative number. I would be surprised if when the numbers are really out that minus 104 is the actual number. But anyway, Pittsburgh's pitcher, Cody Ponce, 7.20 ERA at home. The guy is just brutal. The Pittsburgh team is 5-13 versus lefties. Eric Lauer, the pitcher from Milwaukee, is 3.71 ERA on the road. This looks to me like a Milwaukee win and a big win for that. So I'm going to go along with you, although I don't know what the run line is yet. But provided that it's a positive number, if it's a plus number for me, I will bet Milwaukee. If it's a negative number and stays at minus 165-ish, it's still enough value to bet Milwaukee that I'll go ahead and just bet Milwaukee and forget the run line. But if it is a plus number, I'm betting Milwaukee run line. If it's a negative number, I'm just taking Milwaukee straight up. Next game is my Chicago Cubs. Didn't come through for you yesterday with an extra didn't come through by losing by enough. Today they're a plus, it looks like around a 110-ish, 120-ish. And Cincinnati is around minus 135.
So I'm going to make this my plus line. You can find this on FanDuel. If you look, the Cubs, again, against Tyler Mahle, they are 19 for 129, and then some of their big hitters again. So they're 147 batting average. They've been struggling as it is. They've only scored 29 runs their last 10 games, and they've lost 7 in a row. So I like the Reds to win this game. And honestly, minus 134 is not bad for all that.
Right on.
But I'll take the under 9.5. So I'm going to take the Reds to win and under 9.5 plus 200. So I'm doubling my money to get the under and the Reds to win here.
You're parlaying it, is what you're saying?
Yep. So the Reds are going to win plus the under 9.5.
The Reds are going to win their under 9.5. For me, looking at this game for the Cubs, Cincinnati, it's a close call for me. I do think if I were going to bet anything in this game, it looks to me like the run line. The Cubs offense, once again, was anemic last night on the road, only managing to score 1 run. Fortunately, for those who bet Cincinnati, like me, on the money line, they only just scored 2. But I think if I were going to play this game, I think the run line plus 142 is a safer play than trying to be on the right side of both the game and the total. I think if the Cubs offense continues to struggle as it has on the road, Cincinnati does have one of the most dominant offenses at home. Didn't look that way last night, but maybe they get their bats going tonight. There isn't a line on, there is a small line, the few lines on Miami and Atlanta. Anything you like there?
Like we talked about yesterday, Atlanta's starting to roll. So if I was going one way, I'd go Atlanta.
Yeah, I like Atlanta in this spot too. It's not an official bet for me, but it's one that I'll be betting in my account. The Marlins aren't the best against left-handed pitching. They're 16-27 on the road, 9-15 against lefties. The only thing that makes me a little bit hesitant is the starting pitcher. Mueller's got, I think, one start at home, or pitched one inning at home. I don't know if it was a starter or relief role, but he has like 18 ERA in one inning. So that means he let up 2 runs, but I don't know. On the outside of that, he's pitched very well. So I think I'll definitely lean in Atlanta, probably going to be in my account as an actual bet. We don't have any numbers on Minnesota and Kansas City as of yet. Now we're going to move off to Chicago White Sox up in Detroit against the surging Detroit Tigers, who actually had a winning record in June. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's different. This one, I don't know if I trust either. The White Sox are the better team. Tigers are starting to play better. The starting pitching's pretty even with Dallas Keuchel and Tarek Skubal. I'm passing on this one. I was almost going to bet this one because the White Sox are 18-7 against left-handed pitching. And then I looked at Keuchel's record in Comerica Park in Detroit. Now, this is considering Detroit hasn't been the very good team for the past, 3, 4, 5 years. And he still has an ERA over 6. And that's when they weren't playing well, when they weren't having a winning record in the month of June. So as much as I really like the White Sox against left-handed pitching, I do not, for whatever reason, like Dallas Keuchel in Detroit. Maybe he's like Phil Mickelson. I don't know if you saw that story. No, I didn't.
Now, Phil Mickelson, he had some gambling issue with some bookie who was mob connected 20 years ago. And the Detroit Free Press put a story out on it because the PGA Tour is in Detroit right now. Phil was not happy about that. Said he'll never go back to Detroit again. So maybe Dallas Keuchel and Phil are buddies and share the same book. Just kidding, of course. All speculation.
Yeah, and it looks like Detroit's, their batters have hit Keuchel pretty well too. So that's another good thing there.
Yeah, so I'm not on that game, although I was leaning the White Sox. LA Dodgers, they are who they say we are. At least that's what they look like now. Kershaw versus Espino, probably going to be like minus 200 for the Dodgers. Going to be a negative run line number as well. If I were going to go anywhere on this game, I'd probably go Dodgers run line, but I'm not going to be anywhere near the spot.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch it, though. If you're looking for a team to throw in a parlay or something, take the Dodgers for winning because like we've said, they're just rolling right now.
They are who we said they are. Let's see. Houston and Cleveland. Houston has been dominating. Cleveland, they're about minus 180-ish. Cleveland's plus 155 at home. It just looks to me like Houston is sort of like the Tampa Bay, and Cleveland is sort of like the Canadians. One team is just absolutely dominating the other.
Yeah, and Houston had that bad series against Baltimore, but they're rebounding here against Cleveland. And Cleveland has Eli Morgan going, who's 1-2 with an ERA over 9. Houston's got Jake Odorizzi, who's pretty decent. So I would lean towards Houston here.
Sounds
not
like
an official play, but
sounds like Cleveland's throwing me out there on the mound. I'd probably have a higher ERA than that.
Yeah,
much higher ERA.
That's what happened to me with the Rockies yesterday in extra innings, too. They have a pitcher out there from the bullpen who has an ERA of almost 10. He gives up a bunch of runs, and they bring a guy in with an ERA of 2. I thought it should have kind of been backwards, but
sometimes you have to. So I wonder sometimes too about like the decisions that people make that are in those spots. It's like you wonder if Pete Rose was the only one. I'm not saying anything along those lines. I'm just saying sometimes you wonder based upon the decisions people make, because why in a game that's tied, right? Or you're up actually going into the 9th inning. And then why not go in there with a guy who can close the game out for you? Why even put the game in jeopardy? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it, because you need to win. I mean, unless Colorado wants to get higher up the draft. Boston and Oakland. Boston is definitely a solid team on the road. They have, I think, a little bit better road record than Oakland has home record. This is a game, again, where Boston's catching a plus line. If I were going to bet this game at all, I would bet Boston for sure, but I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. I will say Cole Irvin had a really good start last time, and he's been solid all year. So it's a 50-50 game for me.
Yeah, the thing is, when you look at the way the line's laid out, in terms of premiums and discounts, Boston is at a discount, right? So that's telling me Vegas is trying to get you to bet Boston, and Oakland is at a huge premium. So that's telling me they don't want you to bet Oakland. So if you read between the lines, their algorithms are telling them Oakland's going to win this game, and they're trying to steer people towards Boston. And, it's a lot of what if you think about it, and I know that everybody thinks that Vegas is a 50-50, right? They're just trying to set the line where an equal amount of money goes on one side, equal money goes on the other side, and they just collect the vig. I don't think that's how it works at all, because that's not how the real world works. What happens is they get a boatload of money on one side and they're short on the other. So they end up owning the bet on the side that the public and the money is not on. They understand that. That's why they build billion-dollar casinos. And because they understand that, they use the line to try to influence you to pick one side or the other. And whatever side they're trying to get you to take is probably the side you shouldn't take. If you took the other side, maybe you could build a billion-dollar casino.
So basically what you're saying is Vegas is betting too. They pick the team they want you. They pick the team that they want favored, as far as they're going to make money with, what'd you say, Oakland winning.
Well, what happens basically is that, I come from the stock market world, and there's market makers, the people who set the price for a stock. And if everybody's buying the stock as a market maker, even if you don't have the stock to sell them, you have to make the trade, because that's part of the deal of being a market maker. So if everybody's buying the stock, you're selling them the stock, you're essentially what's called short. You don't own it, so you have to buy it back at another day. This is kind of why the philosophy I see with Vegas. So they might want the game to be 50-50. That's probably ideal for them. But when you look at some of the money flow, you'll see that like 60% of the money is on team A. That means that they are short team A, right? So if 60% of the money on, let's just say in this case, is on Boston, and 40% is on Oakland, that means they need Boston to win that game, because otherwise they got to make up the other 20% for Oakland, right?
Right. So they're getting the side they want by influencing you to take the team that they want you to take. So they trust Boston more here than they do Oakland, for example.
Well, in this particular spot, they trust Boston more, a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, no, they trust Oakland more, because they're making you pay up for Oakland a lot. And I mean a lot. Right. So they're saying they're trying to dissuade you, because they know everybody. I mean, there's only a couple different ways you can really evaluate these games. Maybe there's, some people who, like sum up the WAR, and then they have some kind of formula that based upon that to what that run differential should be. But for the most part, the most accurate thing in predicting baseball games is run differential. So they know people have their run differential models. They know people have their power ranking models. And, there's some slight difference between one person's power ranking numbers and the other. They run those models too, and they know what side these models are on. And they know what the line should be based upon those models. So I am 100% convinced that they go ahead and use those models. And then from there, they're able to set lines to attract people in off of those models. So you look at this line and you say, look, Boston's 114. I'm getting a discount because that says they have a 46% chance to win. But my power ranking gives them a 54% chance to win. My run line number, my run differential numbers give them 52% chance to win. And yet I'm only paying 46 cents for that. So that's a value, right? So you should jump on that. Whereas on Oakland, they're on the negative side of that, because Boston has the advantages across the board, but yet you're paying through the nose to bet Oakland. That tells me Vegas thinks Oakland's winning this game. to make a long story shorter. All right. So anyway, that's how I think about things, and that's actually how I go about betting them. And so far, not so good, but over the course of time, I think on the year so far, I'm winning about 54% of my baseball games, and I do run lines. I do take underdogs. So considering my average line is probably somewhere around break even, plus 100. So over time, that works out well. Just hasn't been off to a blazing start. I'm kind of like the Canadians at the beginning of the first and second period, but I'm going to come on because we're in the end of the second period. So now we're going to go to your favorite team, St. Louis and Colorado. Colorado, once again, is a home underdog or a home favorite. You're going to do that again?
So I'm not going to make it an official play, but I will probably play Colorado. I just hope they don't get to the ninth inning in a one-run game again. But they should, I put out all the stats yesterday about Colorado at home. As long as this is another 50-50 game. As long as they're in the negative, they're winning. And
Kyle winning up through 8 2/3. So.
Yeah, yesterday, and 2 strikes. Kyle Freeland is actually starting to pitch well too. You see that 6.54 ERA, but I'd say 3-4 weeks ago that ERA was about 9. He's made some good starts lately, so
yeah, he's getting it together for sure.
Yeah.
Wind must be blowing in Colorado.
It is kind of odd. A lot of unders in Colorado lately.
Maybe they set that line a little bit high because, again, people like to bet the over, and people, Colorado is notorious for a high-scoring ballpark. So it wouldn't surprise me that Vegas sets the total at a high number with Colorado.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the people who had the under last night, because the same thing that we've gotten burned on with a lot, with these extra innings, putting a runner on second. Mm-hmm. One of the teams just explodes, and
it's like college football with the overtime. Game can be 3-3, and then they go to overtime, and it ends 52-51.
Yeah, it's good if you're an over better. If you're an under better, it is not a good thing.
No, well, anytime you lose, it's not a good thing. And fortunately, we can't take any action on Baltimore or the Angels because there's not a line yet. San Francisco came through for me in my account yesterday. I mentioned that it's a run line game for me. That was an official bet. I should have made it official bet. They won 11-4. Today, the Giants are the -165. Arizona's catching a plus line. Again, yesterday I mentioned that Arizona cannot beat lefties. Now I think they're 4-16 or something against them now. They're getting another lefty today. You might consider the run line there.
Yeah, you could consider it. Not an official play, but you could definitely, if you're going to go one way, I would go that way. The money line's too expensive. I would go the -1.5.
Well, for me, my cutoff line is -167. And then anything above -167, anything lower than that, then I start considering, is this the run line in play? And when you look at a team that's, I don't know, just for sake of argument, 4 of 24, it means 1 of 6. They're losing 82% of the games against left-handed pitchers. A -82% would probably be like a -300 line. I don't know the exact number. So if it should be -300, if you're losing 82% of the time and you're only paying -167, as weird as that sounds, as stupid as it may sound, you're actually getting value at -165 with San Francisco, considering Arizona's record against left-handed pitching. And then the final game of the night in Major League Baseball is Texas and Seattle.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling either team here. I kind of said about Texas yesterday. They're another one. They were up, and then they blew the lead in the late innings, and then lost in extra innings 5-4. Mm-hmm. So I'm not touching this one.
You're not touching this one. Well, this is my second game of the day. The Texas pitcher is Jordan Lyles is 1-5 versus Seattle with a 6.23 ERA. And again, neither team has been very good, but Seattle hasn't been very good at all. And he's 1-3 in Safeco Field with a 5 ERA, whereas the starting pitcher, Marco Gonzalez, much better at home than he is on the road. He's lifetime 6-5 against Texas with a 3.84 ERA. That ERA is below career average numbers for him. So I think when you look at this game, Seattle has the much better offense in terms of the home away differential. Seattle has a run differential about 57% to 43%. They have a 57 to 43 versus the home win power away rankings. And they have a winning record at home. About 61% of the games they win at home. So they actually win very well at home. Whereas Texas just gets the dog stuff beaten out of them on the road, game in and game out. So looking at this game, this might be a run line game for me. I think this is going to be my run line spot. The Seattle team with the run line is about plus 135. So I'm going to go ahead. My two official bets are, they might both be run line games for me. Milwaukee. And again, if Milwaukee is a negative run line, I'm taking them against the number. So the money line. And Seattle, I'm doing plus 134 on the run line. Those are my two plays for the day.
And then I have Milwaukee minus 104, giving up the 1.5 on the run line against Pittsburgh. And then I parlayed the Reds winning and the under 9.5 in the Reds-Cubs game. Get plus 200 on that.
Sean, the parlay man. I'm not a big parlay guy because...
No, I mean, I've learned my lesson on trying to get those big, 6-7 game parlays. Even yesterday, I had a couple that were 4-5, and all I needed was Colorado to get that last strike. And I would have won a couple hundred, but that's the stuff that happens with that. But I feel confident in this one. Like I said, Cubs are not hitting well. They're not good against Tyler Mahle, the starting pitcher for Cincinnati. Cincinnati does score sometimes at home, but even their offense hasn't been that
smoking lately.
Yeah, so even if they win the game 8-1, I'm still good with the 9.5 because I think the over under was actually 9, but it started out at 9.5. So the under is even come down. But I got it with FanDuel; they keep at the original number. So
no, it's nice
for plus 200. I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Well, let's hope that the parlay comes through. And then, what do you got planned for the 4th of July weekend? So we're not going to be here tomorrow. So we'll put our picks online. Where are we going to put them? On Twitter at Moneyline Madmen and on Facebook. So make sure you check that out. What's your plan for today and tomorrow?
Not really sure. We got family up. My girlfriend's niece is up from Florida, so she goes back to the airport today. Some other stuff's going on. Monday we may go to the pool. So.
The pool. That's nice. We usually have one in our backyard, the little stand-up pool, but we haven't put it up yet this year. My daughter's been, come on, let's put it up. It's going to be 90 degrees. So, well, they're heading off to Great America today to do the roller coaster stuff. I got to work today. I got to work tomorrow, but I'm going to get up in the morning and play some golf tomorrow. Today, if you want a chance at a free $100, head on over to Horse Racing Radar, our sponsor. Join their contest for Delaware Park. I will be live commenting, analyzing every single race. I think it starts at around 12:15 Eastern time, maybe 1:15 Eastern. Probably runs through about 5:30 Eastern time. So head on over there. We'll have some good picks. Hopefully, hit some good winners. Anything else for you today, Sean?
No, I'll actually be at Delaware Park next weekend. My birthday was earlier this week, so we're going to go to Delaware next weekend to celebrate. So haven't been to a horse track in over a year at this point with COVID and stuff, so it's going to be nice to go.
Yeah, so make sure you hit up Tom and tell him hello.
Yeah, he's going to be there, and we're going to meet up, so I'll meet some people out there. Tyler Connor might be there, so.
Sounds good. All right, folks. Well, if you join us today for the horse racing contest, I look forward to it. I've done a lot of homework there, too, a lot of prep work. Hopefully that translates to a lot of exactas, trifectas, and maybe some pick 3s and pick 4s. Until then, good luck with your bets. Good luck at the ballpark.